Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always. What have you got for us today?
Today, we're heading to Japan, 2017. Get ready. This one is, it's pretty dark.
Hmm. Lay it on me.
Okay, so picture this. Sama, Japan. Takahiro Shiraishi. Seemingly just your average guy, but he gets arrested in his tiny apartment.
Okay, average guy, tiny apartment. I'm intrigued. What's the twist?
Well, the twist is he was hiding something truly horrifying.
What do you mean?
9 bodies,
9.
9 victims,
Wow.
all murdered within a couple of months, all inside that tiny apartment.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to unpack. How does this guy even manage that without anyone noticing?
Right, it's mind-boggling, and here's where it gets even more complex.
Oh, there's more.
Shiraishi, he specifically targeted people online who were expressing suicidal thoughts. He used Twitter, called himself Hanging Pro. Can you believe that?
Hanging pro. Wow. That sends chills down my spine. Was he offering to help them? Like some kind of twisted assisted suicide thing?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was he a predator taking advantage of vulnerable people, or was it something else? This case really makes you think.
Yeah, no kidding. So this tiny apartment, just how tiny are we talking?
13.5 square meters, that's it.
That's smaller than some walk-in closets I've seen. It's almost impossible to imagine something so horrific happening in such a small space.
I know, it doesn't even seem possible. And the crime scene, totally gruesome. The police, they found the dismembered remains stuffed into 7 coolers.
7 coolers.
7. Imagine opening that door and the first thing you see is 2 heads and bones right there in a cooler by the entrance.
Wow, okay. That's a truly horrific image. But how did he get these people to his apartment in the first place?
He was pretty cunning, actually. Presented himself online as someone who understood their pain, someone who could offer them a way out.
He basically weaponized their vulnerability, the anonymity of the internet. It can be such a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how did this whole twisted thing come crashing down? How was he caught?
A bit of luck, I guess you could say, and the unwavering determination of a victim's brother. He was the one who noticed his sister's online interactions with Shiraishi before she vanished.
So the brother? He basically turned into an online detective.
Pretty much. He used his sister's Twitter account to contact other people she had been talking to. Smart move, right?
Very smart.
And that's how he found a woman who actually knew Shiraishi personally.
Oh, wow. So the police used her to set up a meeting with Shiraishi.
Exactly. And that led to his arrest.
It's amazing how, in this digital age, our online activity can be used to solve crimes, isn't it?
It is. And it also shines a light on the potential dangers out there, especially for those who are struggling.
Right. This case is a stark reminder that you can't always be sure who's on the other side of the screen.
Absolutely. And there's still so much more to uncover. We need to dive into the ethics of it all, the complexities of the Japanese legal system. It's a really fascinating, albeit disturbing case.
Okay, so buckle up, everyone. This deep dive is going to take us to some pretty dark places.
So we've got this seemingly ordinary guy, right? Takahiro Shiraishi blends right in, but he's got this dark side, this capacity for such horrific violence. What made him tick? That's the big question.
Yeah, it's chilling how someone can appear so normal while harboring such darkness. Makes you wonder, how well do we ever really know anyone?
Right. It really challenges those assumptions we make about who's capable of doing terrible things. But we gotta be careful. We need to stick to the facts, avoid slapping on those easy labels.
Okay, Detective, what clues do we have about this guy, Shiraishi? Anything in his past that hints at this dark path he ended up on?
Well, let's see. He had a history of petty crime, some theft, assault, nothing too major. Oh, and this is interesting. He worked for a time as a scout for a sex work establishment.
A scout. Could that, I don't know, maybe that suggests some early interest in, exploiting others? Maybe a warped sense of power and control?
It's a possibility, sure. But remember, just because two things happen around the same time doesn't mean one caused the other. It's tempting to connect the dots, but human behavior, it's way more complicated than that.
You're right. We can't oversimplify things. But, okay, his online activity, that's definitely a red flag, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. That Twitter handle, Hanging Pro. I mean, come on. It's like he was deliberately crafting this image of, an expert in death or something, targeting people at their most vulnerable moment.
He's just so creepy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately very effective. He knew exactly which buttons to push, how to make himself seem like the answer to their problems. It's terrifying, really, the way social media can be used to manipulate people like that.
No doubt. It's a wake-up call for all of us. We need to be so much more careful online, especially when it comes to sharing those deeply personal things, those struggles we're all going through.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the victims for a moment. They were all struggling with suicidal thoughts, and that brings up a whole bunch of ethical questions. Like, does does their willingness to die somehow, I don't know, make Shiraishi's crimes less horrific?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And there's no easy answer. It pushes us to confront those really gray areas of consent and autonomy, especially when you're dealing with folks in such extreme emotional distress. It's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around it, to imagine anyone truly consenting to their own murder,
Mhm.
especially when they're in such a vulnerable state. But there are people who argue that in a twisted way, Shiraishi was providing a form of assisted suicide.
And that's where things get really complicated. It challenges our whole legal system, our moral compass. Was he a cold-blooded killer? Or a messed up savior? Or maybe some combination of both?
It's a moral maze, for sure. We can acknowledge that the victims played a role in seeking him out, but you can't ignore those power dynamics. He preyed on their vulnerability, he exploited their desire to die.
Absolutely. That's the chilling truth we can't shy away from. This case, it screams at us to pay attention to mental health, to reach out for professional help when we're struggling. There are people who care, people who want to help.
So true. Suicide, it's never the answer. And there's always hope, even when it feels like there isn't. Always.
And, this case also highlights the potential dangers of online support groups. While they can be a lifeline for some, connecting with others who get it, there's also the risk of running into people with bad
It's
intentions.
a tough balance, right?
Yeah.
How do we reap the benefits of online support without putting ourselves at risk?
It's all about being smart, finding that sweet spot between connecting with others and staying skeptical. Not everyone online is who they say they are. You got to trust your gut. If something feels off, step back.
And online support, it should never replace professional help. If you're struggling, reach out to a qualified mental health professional. They can provide the guidance and support you need.
Right on. Okay, so switching gears a bit. Let's talk about something a little different, something that reveals a lot about Japanese culture, the idea of stigmatized properties.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that earlier, the Oshima Title website, right?
Yeah.
Like what is it, a digital map of places where bad things happened? But why does it even exist? Is it like a warning system for potential renters or buyers?
It's more than just a warning system. See, in Japan, there's this strong belief that places, they hold on to the energy of the events that occurred there, especially the negative stuff like crimes or suicides. It's like a spiritual residue that hangs around.
So it's not just about the physical space itself, but also like the emotional weight it carries. It's almost like the walls are talking, whispering the stories of what happened. Spooky.
Exactly. And this belief, it has real-world consequences. People are genuinely hesitant to live in or even visit places with a tragic past. It's considered bad luck, like inviting misfortune into your life.
So Oshima Title, it gives people a way to look into the history of a property, to make choices based on their beliefs and comfort levels. It's transparency, but with a ghostly twist.
You got it. And it offers a fascinating glimpse into Japanese culture, their values, the importance of harmony, avoiding places tainted by negative energy. It's like a digital manifestation of their cultural anxieties.
It's amazing how something like real estate can tell us so much about a culture's worldview. So where does Shiraishi's apartment fit into all of this? I can't imagine it being a popular spot after what happened there.
You guessed it.
Yeah.
After those discoveries, Shiraishi's apartment building landed itself a prime spot on Oshima Title. Not exactly a selling point for potential tenants.
The building itself became like a silent witness to his crimes,
Right.
a physical reminder of the darkness he brought into the world. Okay, so we've talked about Shiraishi's background, the victims, this whole concept of stigmatized properties. But now let's move on to the investigation and trial of Takahiro Shiraishi. This is where things get really intense. So the investigation. Imagine being one of those police officers, entering Shiraishi's apartment, expecting to find, I don't know, maybe some clues about a missing person. But instead, they walk into this total nightmare.
It must have been overwhelming. Absolutely overwhelming. The scale of it all. Remember, we're talking about a tiny apartment, and they find the remains of 9 people hidden in coolers. It's hard to even picture what that must have been like for the first responders.
I can't even imagine. Truly horrific. It feels like something out of a movie, not real life. So how did investigators even start to, I don't know, to untangle what had happened?
It took some serious forensic work. Think about it. Documenting the scene, analyzing the remains, trying to figure out who the victims were. all while facing the sheer brutality of it all.
Yeah. It's grim, but it also shows how dedicated those people are. The folks in law enforcement, the ones who have to deal with these awful cases. What about Shiraishi? What was his reaction when they confronted him?
He confessed to the murders, but, and this is the chilling part, he showed zero remorse.
Zero.
He described everything, how he lured his victims, how he strangled them, dismembered their bodies, new emotion, like he was talking about, I don't know, the weather or something.
Wow, it's like he didn't even see them as human.
That lack of empathy, it's a common thread you see with a lot of serial killers. It allows them to, like, separate themselves from what they've done.
So the case goes to trial, and I imagine it was huge news in Japan.
Oh, definitely. This case grabbed everyone's attention, and it was a complicated legal battle. The prosecution wanted the death penalty, argued that his crimes were planned, just horrific. But the defense, they tried to say he was mentally unstable, that he wanted to, in his mind, help his victims end their suffering.
So it became this battle of interpretations, right? One side focused on the brutality, the other on his state of mind.
Exactly. And it forced the Japanese legal system to confront some really difficult questions like, is this straight up murder or some twisted form of assisted suicide? Where do you draw the line when it comes to people who, want to die?
It's such a complex issue. So what happened? What was the verdict?
The court, they didn't buy the defense's arguments.
Hmm.
Shirishi was found guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to death.
Wow. Justice, at least legally, was served. But in this case, it goes beyond the courtroom, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The death penalty, that's a whole other debate. Some people believe it's never okay, no matter what. Others think it's the only way to punish certain crimes.
It's a tough conversation, that's for sure. But this case also makes us think about some bigger issues, right? Like loneliness, the dangers of the internet.
Definitely. It's like a warning sign about social isolation in this digital age. It's so easy to get lost in the online world, to seek comfort in the wrong places.
Yeah. And it's a reminder that we all need to be careful online to be aware of who we're interacting with.
And, maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this is how important it is to have access to mental health support. We need to build a world where people feel comfortable asking for help, a world where there's always hope.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think we're left with a lot to think about. The details of the case, the legal battles, the ethical questions. It's heavy stuff. But what does it mean for you listening?
Exactly. What have you learned from this? Take some time to dig deeper into the topics we discussed. Read up on online safety, learn about mental health resources, or, heck, even research the Japanese legal system.
It's easy to forget sometimes that evil can hide in plain sight, but it's also important to remember that there are people fighting for justice, working to create a safer world for everyone. And with that, we'll leave you with this. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Could things have been different? Something to think about as we all navigate this increasingly complex digital world.